This is lecture 615 and signing naturally, starting on page 350. I want you to watch the I Want to Be Different story. So pay attention to that, 615, and do the exercise on page 350. Or at least, I forget how I worded that in the exercises. Either you've verified that you've watched it, or I may actually ask some questions, or some drop-down answers you have to go through. I forget how the exercise is placed there. Also, I do believe for this 615, there's an exercise where you have to choose between transition and modified verbs. Be aware how transitions are used with the eyebrows raised, like finish, transition, or now. So you have a sequencing events, and the transition is just showing you're moving from one action or one event to the next event. Whereas a modified verb is a verb. And I think that's self-explanatory here on page 351. I won't tell you the answers. You have to figure that out for yourself, but I think you should be able to know the difference between a transition and what a modified verb is. And if you don't, please read through this section, watch the videos in Signing Naturally that deal with this topic of transition verbs and and modified verbs. And if you have any questions, ask me. But moving forward through page 352 and on to go through some new vocabulary. Whereas this is chicken, this is rooster. So here for the roosters, cock, rooster. To be unlike, different, different. Your index fingers here, different, so different. And which is pretty much the same thing as but. So it's all used in context. So where this is different, this is but. So that's used in transition. So but, however, different. See the different facial expression? A contagious disease. Okay, specifically chicken pox. Chicken pox. That's part of the story. You'll see that come up. Bedroom, bottom of the page. Bed, sign for bed. Your your modified 5 or your open B. So bed, room. A box, a room. Page 355, taking a bath. To live or to live, taking a bath. Right up at the chest area only with the modified open A hand. So take a bath. To mock, laugh at. It's really hard to tell from what she's doing here in this, but this is to laugh at. Your H hand with an open A, with your thumb up, in the H hand. So the two fingers just come in like this, go like ha 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 ha. A few days later, okay. So 3 days later. 3 days later. Starts with the A hand and goes to 3 days later. So it's like tomorrow, except 3 days later. And I hardly ever see this sign used. 3 days later like that. But I'm trying to remember if that comes up in the story. Obviously it must, or they wouldn't be introducing it here. Transition later on, subsequently. Remember the sign for next, like the next day? This is along the same lines. So transition to later on, subsequently, and then, then went to the bank, then went to the post office, so then, next. In the past, long ago, remember this? We just learned this earlier in this unit. So you're circling open B hand coming behind you, or not open B actually, it should be the 5 hand coming up behind you like that. So it's just circling like that behind you. And you can hear my computer. One day, learned that already. A few days later. So, I don't know what she's doing here, but it looks like it could be coming like this 3 days later, or 3 days. It's kind of assumed when you come out like that for 3 days later. This is probably the first time I've ever seen this sign for 3 days later. But I would do 3 days later, or 3 days in the future. Something like that. That's odd. But anyway, see how that plays out in the story. Other transitions, we did this however, but this next sign comes up when the father's looking over the children, their chicken pox. So look over, remember, to look at. So look over. To look over, circling, like, oh, you're looking, and your eye gaze will be accordingly to where you're looking. So looking at the body, I'm looking up at the sky, I'm looking down at the feet, mocking, laugh at. It's kind of the same sign as ha ha ha, to laugh at someone, which we just did, to mock, laugh at, same thing. Kind of, I don't know why she's got her hand up like this. The sign is normally just made like this, but it looks like her hand is underneath like that. Never seen it done that way. Interesting. Signs for talking. What I'm trying to tell you here is that signing naturally is not the Bible for ASL. I mean, there's variations. This is not how everybody signs, but it is how a lot of people sign, or a lot of this is how people sign. There's certain things in here that I find odd, kind of off the beaten path, but anyway, it's California, right? LA. Signs for talking. Okay. These are not the only signs for talking, but here's 4. To express vocally or to speak. Remember, your forehand like this, and to talk, to speak. Actually, something words coming out of your mouth, to speak, to talk. To converse with in an informal manner, to chat. Remember we did this before in class? To chat. You open 5 hands like this, to chat. To state something, to say. From the lips, to say. To say something, your index finger comes out like that. To say something. As opposed to, okay, I see what she's doing. Number C, to say, to state something, to say, okay. A slight difference there. Just back up what I just said. Let me modify that a little bit. To state something, to say, it's repeatedly just touching below your lips here, to say. I said I was sick, or I said I didn't want to go, said. To inform comes out like that. So up to your mouth like this, or to your chin even, but up in this area here, and to say something, or even underneath your chin from here, to say something, to tell something to someone. So I said, or I'm going to say, or, but I told them, I told them, I told you, I told all of them. Okay, that'll get you through, hopefully, the exercise on page 355, and that's it for 615. Good luck with your exercises, and next is 616.